Hi, this is Ron Jones. I'm back in Tucson, Arizona with Enid Whittaker, the Managing Director for Bonnie Prudden Myotherapy. We're doing a little research on the history of Bonnie Prudden, who is one of the, in my opinion, one of the greatest, American fitness professionals in the last 100 years, for sure. And one thing I've learned, Enid, studying the classical systems, whether it be Hebert from France or Jan or Ling from Europe, or somebody like Bonnie Prudden, is that they were very well read outside of physical education and fitness. So I have an interesting question for you today about what did Bonnie read, because as I look around, you can only see part of the library here. There are books everywhere in this house.
Yeah, the books hold up the walls.
The books hold up the walls. She was a very well-read woman and could have a discussion on many different
She
levels.
was my dictionary. I'd say, how do you spell this? And she'd tell me, what's the meaning of this? She'd tell me, what's the, then she'd be able to tell me from Latin where it came from.
Right.
It was incredible what she knew. But she could read at 3 years old. Her mother used to read to her and she'd follow along. So she could read very early, and her parents had a good library. But also, she would go to the library when allowed to the public library, and take out books and read them. And one day the librarian said to her, "What do you like to read?" And Bonnie said, "Well, I've read from here all the way around to there. And on this shelf from here to here." And they gave her a library card, even though she wasn't really old enough to have one.
Really?
And she used to take 5 books at a time. She was allowed. And her mother wasn't worried that she might read something that was a no-no, because she said she'd only understand it
At her level.
At her level,
right.
Yeah. So she always read, and she read everything. I was complaining to somebody when we moved to this home that we didn't have enough room for all the books. And they said, "Well, why don't you throw all the old ones away?" And I said, "Well, that would be like throwing out the history of education,
right,
or the history of philosophy, or the history of whatever. You can't throw out the old ones because they're important.
They're the most valuable."
Yeah.
Right. So, studying these old systems, they built good citizens through movement, and part of that was being able to expose them to many things beyond just the physique and the fitness aspects of that. So you'll see this in other systems as well, where they encourage the youngsters and the people involved to do a lot of reading and to know a lot about the world. And Bonnie did some traveling too. So
well, you get to know people through books. If you don't read history, you don't know the people of other lands.
Right.
And so you don't have an understanding of them.
So I think a little lesson today, if you're in the fitness business, might benefit all of us to read a little bit more about things that aren't fitness related, and I'll take that advice myself and put some of that into practice.
Because if it really is physical education, psychology is involved,
right,
as well as sociology,
right,
and
physics and math, and
there are so many things that can be taught through physical education if it's taught correctly.
Indeed.
Including like courage and respect and
right,
all of those things.
Absolutely. Thank you.